I work outside the house more and more now that we're getting back to normal. And one thing that I always kind of miss about my home setup is when I take my MacBook Pro with me to a coffee shop and I don't have a second screen. So being that I'm on YouTube, sometimes companies offer to send me products and I most of the time refuse because I like to test good products that I find useful myself, because as a software developer, I think maybe other software developers could benefit from me passing on my knowledge. And also, in this case, Rodom reached out to me and asked if I want to review it. I said, to be fair and impartial and not biased, send me the product. I will give it away to the viewers. That way, I don't have any incentive in keeping it and giving it a good review. And I'm also not getting paid. And that way, I can give you the pros and the cons. So stay till the end and I'll explain the raffle. Now, what are we talking about here? Well, this right here is the monitor. It's just a 15.6 inch second screen. Pretty cool. Nothing to it. Very good for mobile. So does this monitor work? Well, I did try it out for about a month. I've been using it out and about when I go to coffee shops, and it's big. That's the only gripe I have with this thing. Now, of course, there are smaller models available, but this is the one they sent me. It's 15.6 inches and it is big. It's actually wider than my MacBook Pro screen. The width of the viewing area is about the same, but the product dimensions are wider. Not a huge deal. It fits into my backpack just fine right next to the laptop. Now, the box that it comes in is very generic and it looks like it was printed on one of those early inkjet printers. Let's just say that it's not the best unboxing experience. It could have been better, but is it really about the box or is it about the product? If the product lasts, that's the key here. If you're spending money on a product like this, if it lasts, then that's worth it. I can't tell you right now if it lasts or not because I've only been using it for a month. And if you do spend $160 or $170, that's how much this thing is, on a product, you kind of expect it to work for at least a few years. Unfortunately, with these reviews, you get the product in, it's brand new, and you don't know what it's going to be like in a couple of years. After you get past, let's face it, the pretty ugly box, inside is a pretty decent looking panel, and they even include a magnetic cover that acts as a stand. I'll talk about that momentarily. Now, when I plugged it in, it was super easy. It just plugs in and works right out of the box. I am using it on a MacBook Pro. The only weirdness I experienced was, this is one of the good things, is it has multiple connections, mini DP, HDMI, USB, and a power USB, and a headphone output too. And I think it also has speakers. Of course, I didn't read the manual. I should have read the manual, but I didn't. So I plugged it into the power USB connection initially, which for some reason doesn't work. I would expect that to work because I'd expect it to get power from the USB, which is how it gets powered. But that connection does not detect a signal, so I have to switch it to regular USB to actually detect a signal. Once I did that and I stood it up, everything worked beautifully. This panel is brighter than others I've tried that are also portable monitors, but next to the MacBook Pro's mini LED screen, it's not nearly as bright. So yeah, the monitor works. It works well. You can go from one monitor to the other just like you would with any other second monitor. It even offers scaling options, but it only goes up to 60 Hertz refresh rate, and it kind of becomes noticeable, especially when you're running your eyes between the mini LED of the MacBook Pro and this monitor. The monitor resembles some kind of like an older Windows laptop. That's kind of the feel of the screen as well as how it looks. There's magnets on the monitor to hold the cover in place. Like I've said, the cover doubles up as a stand if you don't have another stand, and the stand works fine, but in vertical mode it's a bit janky, and in horizontal mode you only have two angles to pick from, which is why I have a secondary separate stand for this thing. Now, what I found about this monitor is it's really good for watching videos. If you're doing like a video tutorial on coding, you can throw a video up there and do your work on the main machine. It actually works really well for that because at that point, you don't need to go back and forth and focus on similar type of content. It's completely different type of content. And in that case, it looks great for that. Now that we've talked about some of those things, let's talk about the negative things. It is somewhat heavy. I mean, it's not super heavy, but it is heavier than I expected it to be. It's not as heavy as the MacBook Pro itself, but it will add weight to your backpack. Now, if you are going to be using it with the included cover as a stand, make sure you have enough desk space, because if you're in a small coffee shop, you have limited amount of space and the monitor might hang off the edge of your table. I would prefer either a smaller secondary monitor than this for my own needs, or getting this kind of stand or any other kind of stand like this. This one's pretty good, which will only take up a small footprint on your table and the monitor will sit on top. Now, because I'm on a Mac, I can also use an iPad in sidecar mode, but that'll only work on a Mac. And I've also found that sidecar is kind of unreliable and disconnects too often for me, for my tastes, whereas a monitor like this will keep its connection all the time because it's hardwired, so it's reliable, and it'll also work with any other machines. So I can bring my Asus machine, plug it in, and it'll work with that one too. Now, one thing to keep in mind is this will drain your battery of your laptop faster if you have a second monitor plugged in. They do make a 4K option for this too, which is I think $100 more. I don't have the 4K option, but the 4K option is not really useful for me because I'm doing development, so I don't really need a 4K option for that. And 4K will drain your batteries faster than the 1080 model. 1440 would have been actually a nice, good sweet spot for something like this, but this is only 1080. So speaking of prices, is it worth the $160, $170 to pay for this thing? I would say yes, because it'll make you more productive on the go, and it's not like you're spending hundreds of dollars. It's sub $200, so for that amount, the productivity increases quite a lot, and I think it's definitely worth it. All right, now about that raffle, I will be giving this away to a random commenter down below. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel, and I will announce the winner on Twitter a couple weeks from now. So there's also a Twitter link to my Twitter page. Make sure you follow me so you don't miss that. If you win and you don't want it, or you miss it, then I'll pick a different winner in a couple of days after that. All right, folks, thanks for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time.